Well, hi there. So in this video, we're going to take the aggregate demand and the aggregate supply and put them together and make equilibrium. So let's get started. Okay, so the first part with this is just a big blank page with different spots that we're going to draw the economy. And so when we go to draw the economy using the aggregate demand, aggregate supply model, we're first going to put Y down here on the horizontal axis. Now, if you like, you can also write GDPR, because that's really what it is the real value of the output in the economy. We're also going to put PL on the vertical axis, and that stands for price levels, or kind of a general stand-in for inflation. Now, in equilibrium, we're going to initially have an LRAS, and that LRAS tells us the full employment output level in the economy. And then we're going to have an upward sloping SRAS line, and we're going to have a downward sloping, I almost got it, a downward sloping aggregate demand. Now, if they don't quite match right there in the middle, you put a dot, and that's going to be our dot that kind of covers up our mistakes. Now, we're going to have a dashed line over and put PL1, and we're also going to put a little Y1 right there. So in equilibrium, the actual, which is Y1, equals the potential, which is YF. And we can also say that there would be no cyclical unemployment, right? The only type of unemployment would be only the natural rate of unemployment. Now let's take a look at what this picture would look like if we were causing maybe something to change in the underlying graph. Now, an expansionary gap is sometimes called an inflationary gap, but it's usually called expansionary. I just wanted you to hear, sometimes it's called an inflationary gap. Now, we would have an expansionary gap when there's more output than full employment. And so we could have a scenario where aggregate demand maybe increased and caused there to be more than kind of that sustainable full level of output. So we're going to start out here in the long run equilibrium. And we know that we're starting here where we've got like a Y1 value and a PL1, and we're going to have a higher aggregate demand. Maybe there's more consumer confidence. Maybe government decides to cut taxes or increase transfers. Maybe there's more investment spending, like a tax cut it or something like that. Now, in the short run, it will cause there to be more output, right? So output would rise, and we would expect price levels to rise. So both output and prices would rise, and we would see a higher aggregate demand. So this would be an expansionary gap. The size of the gap is from Y1 to Y2 or YF to Y2, right? So YF to Y2 is the size of the gap. That's where it is, right? Is that distance. Now, expansionary gap caused by more SRAS would look very similar, but again, for this one, it's just going to be a larger amount of SRAS. So we first start in equilibrium. Wrote the wrong thing right there. LRAS. You know how to do this, Gloss. You've been doing it for a little bit. You know how to do these. SRAS and aggregate demand. And again, I'm kind of missing it each time, but we're getting close. Now, this is going to be YF and PL1. And if there's more SRAS, that's a shift to the right as well, right? So shift to the right, but that's going to actually cause there to be more output and lower price levels, right? So there would be kind of more output and lower price levels. That doesn't necessarily mean deflation, not deflation. It could just be disinflation. It could be disinflation. So I'm just going to write that off to the side. So this may not necessarily be a bad thing. And in fact, this is often a really, really good thing, right? So you might be moving from, say, price level increases that are quite high to a little bit lower, and at the same time, you have more real output in the economy. Now let's take a look at what a recessionary gap would look like. Recessionary gap is going to be, again, we have a difference between our full employment level of output and how much we actually are producing. So we start with aggregate demand, aggregate supply in the same spot. So where SRAS and AD are, that's telling us where we are right now, and we are at full employment. And we'll say PL star. Now, less aggregate demand would mean AD falls, and we have less output, Y2, and we have lower prices, PL2. So both output and prices would generally fall. So this is a typical kind of recession. This would be like the 2020 recession. or 2007 or 1929. Lots of recessions kind of look like an aggregate demand recession. And the last type of recession, and so there's really only a couple of ways that the economy kind of can change here. The last type of recession would be one that's caused by SRAS decreasing. And that one is a particularly nasty type of recession. It's nasty because of the effect on both prices and output levels. So we say that, you've got this equilibrium, and if there's less SRAS, it's a little bit, we'll kind of shoehorn that in there. And then we have higher prices and less output, right? And that's actually what makes it so awful, right? This type of recession is bad because when you have less output, there's people who lose their jobs. But the higher prices is happening at the same time. So it's really, really painful for folks, right? And so this is a special type of recession called stagflation. And that just means that we have less output. So unemployment is rising at the same time, and inflation is rising, which is really awful, right? Imagine if you lost your job and prices are rising at the same time. So this happened in the 1970s in the United States, right? This is 1970s. This was kind of more a traditional type of a recession. These are much more frequent than what we see with stagflation. So as we kind of continue in the course, we'll kind of analyze different ways that we could address these different types of gaps. And hopefully this helped you to drawing the economy in equilibrium. I'll see you next time.